We did it. We won. Yesterday, I showed you a video of hate speech and violence being called for toward members of the LGBTQA+ community, and those videos are now down. And this is a victory. So everyone's happy about it, right? Well, no, they're not. And we're going to talk about that. I'm Mr. Atheist. Let's do this. For nearly daily atheist content, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because sometimes when you ring the bell, YouTube sends notifications. Sometimes. We're going to take this topic and dive on in right away. Yesterday, I shared a video that was a promotion for a conference called Make America Straight Again. Something that infuriated me that I would have left alone. I still would have reviewed it, but yesterday I decided to actually call for the audience's help on getting it taken down, because included in it was a celebration of a massacre of homosexuals, and then calling homosexuals rapists and pedophiles and saying that's why this massacre was okay, and the direct calling for capital punishment toward homos. That video and another video that was a mirror of it shared on another channel, both of those have been taken down for hate speech. The channels are still up, and I assure you, it is still part of my goal to get the entire channels taken down, because I believe that once you cross that line, we are talking about people who have actually waived any right to the YouTube platform. But at the very least, getting these videos down is an incredible victory. Now, mirrors are going up. I've already seen a couple go up and a couple come down. Going forward, as people bring that to my attention, I'm going to share those links out on Twitter. So if you don't already follow me on Twitter and you would like to be a part of making sure that their effort fails to try and keep uploading this in different places, then please go ahead, follow on Twitter. The fact that they are now uploading it to new places is actually part of the reason and part of my defense and why we need to go for their actual platform itself, their actual channel. And trust me, we're going to talk about the drama that this has resulted in here momentarily, but I do want to say that going after the platforms, I do think will make it less likely that other channels are willing to upload it too. If you take down the channels associated with, again, we are talking about full-on hate speech and calls to violence. These are the kinds of videos that included both dog whistles and directly violent language. These are the kinds of things that inspire people to do and say, but more importantly, perform violent acts toward, in this case, the LGBTQA+ community. Now, on to the drama, I guess you could call it, if you will. I have been getting messages, I have been getting emails, I have been getting comments on the original video, and the gist of many of these messages is that censorship is never okay and that deplatforming is never okay. And I am going to tell you why I disagree. But first, let me say, if you have watched my channel, and there are a ton of videos on my channel, I have never before now called on YouTube to delete a video or a channel. I also take censorship very seriously. But that doesn't mean I don't believe it is never appropriate. Now, some of these things range from there's no such thing as hate speech. I don't know how you can even make that argument. Obviously, there is. More specifically, it does absolutely exist as an actual legal term. And then we can talk about what that term should include and what it shouldn't. But it definitely is something that exists. And so for those who are angry at me or just in general disagree on what I did, I'm going to defend that choice. I'm going to start doing that by answering this question, which came up a lot, which is, when do I think it is appropriate to censor or deplatform someone? So far, present day, it is my opinion that specifically violence, when they call for violence, they use violent language. It's not simply just usage of slurs. As I said, I've had those slurs used toward me and not gone after those people's platforms. But when it specifically has those themes of violence and those themes of encouraging other people to hate, those things together, that is absolutely when I think it is appropriate to seek a removal of a person from that platform. I have so far only gone after their videos on YouTube. I have not made the case they should be imprisoned. I have not suggested any kind of legal battle. I don't know if anything like that, if there are grounds to do anything like that. What I did call for was the enforcement of a companies, a private entity, a companies, not the country, I called for the enforcement of their terms of service. And those are the grounds upon which these videos have been blocked and removed so far. Keep in mind, legally, you can't incite violence. Now, I am positive if that case was brought to them, they would try to hide behind some nuance in their words and how the capital punishment was called for homos when Jesus comes back. And the other person was just saying, no, I wasn't sad the nightclub people died. You can't hold me accountable for what I didn't feel. That's not actually a legal battle. I suspect would be won anyway. I genuinely have no idea, though I have zero expertise in law. But those are the legal classifications on which you can, as a citizen, be censored. This concept of free speech being unlimited is not true. And there are other times that we step in between a citizen and free speech. For example, if they are encouraging and recruiting on behalf of terrorists. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater, and you can't incite violence. These are the rules of the land we live in. These are not the rules of the YouTube we live on. Now, if you disagree with those rules for YouTube, fine. There are things I've seen YouTube in the past that I think are ridiculous. And the YouTube terms of service, they're rough. They're strict. That video I posted yesterday, it is an LGBTQA+ advocacy video trying to defend those people like myself, trying to make sure they are safe, trying to make sure they're allowed to pursue happiness, and that some nut isn't going to watch those videos and see these people seeming thankful for violence toward homosexuals and thinks this is how I will glorify myself to these people and to my God. But that video's demonetized. An advocacy video, a video trying to help and defend marginalized people, it is demonetized because at present, YouTube's rules about talking about things like gay people, queer people, if you use these specific words and tags, they almost always get demonetized. Sometimes after I send them for review, monetization comes back. This time it didn't. It said this video is inappropriate for many audiences and therefore shouldn't have advertisements attached to it. And in all honesty, I don't mind. I think those rules are messed up. But what I'm trying to bring up here is that these terms of service do restrict and treat different speech different ways. But at the end of the day, the YouTube terms of service that every YouTuber, including myself, has to live by were absolutely violated. And this was a part of the terms of service that talks about how your videos and your channel may be taken down. And I simply called for the maximum punishment YouTube will enforce for something that is this hateful, that is this violent. When you say I censored them, you're not entirely correct. I have not silenced them. I have not taken down their platforms, their websites. I have simply asked for the enforcement of terms of services, because the right to free speech is not the right to a platform. You can go and publicly protest, and there are certain public platforms you can go and speak your hatred. I'm certain you're aware that Westboro Baptist Church has figured that out. But it is not a right to a platform. And at the end of the day, while again, I still think there are flaws and there are things that need to improve, I am on this platform because I agree generally with their terms of service, and I am encouraged to see that they were enforced this way. If those terms of service changed and allowed calling for violence toward homosexuals, allowed violent bigotry, allowed things like terrorism, you're still going to have a number of channels drop off. It would just be the advocacy channels like mine. YouTube has decided whose voices they want to amplify, and it is a broad spectrum. I am on the same platform as Logan Paul, and I do believe Logan Paul should continue to be allowed on this platform, despite being an obnoxious that. I am glad they are hesitant with the power they have, but I think this was a clear time that the terms of service were violated, and there is absolutely times that you should censor people to try and restrict their message and the effectiveness of their message through these kinds of private platforms like YouTube, like Twitter. And my line absolutely is violence. When they call for violence, that's the end. And this is a point of conflict for me. I have reviewed horrible things on this channel. I have reviewed horrible messages. Why did I pick that this video was bad enough, but not the video from last week where Lori Thompson advocates for marital rape? And that's something that's a very hard topic for me. It's an unpleasant topic. There are definitely people and videos I don't go after because the practicality of my argument I don't think would be successful. I actually do probably think Lori Thompson's existence on the internet would be better not existing, her being purged from the internet. But I haven't called for that censorship in that case because it is something so severe, because the argument won't be practical. She says in her video that she's not advocating for rape, that she's not telling husbands to go and rape their wives, but then gives examples of time wives were raped by their husbands and defends why it wasn't rape. And from a practical standpoint, I don't think we can easily win that kind of argument when people are hiding behind things that they call nuance or hiding behind dog whistles. However, that video did make rapists feel innocent and victims feel guilty. So I used my platform on that day to approach it as practically as I could. And that was by showing you what she was saying, showing you what was wrong with it, and calling it out in the hopes that individuals who are influenced by her will come to my video and be released by that kind of mental slavery. But those reasons that I shared on why I went after her that way and not after deplatforming, that at the end of the day is the difference for me, and that is why my approach will be similar in the future. This language was more direct. They would still try and hide in nuance, but there isn't much nuance to hide in. It is not at all a stretch of the imagination to believe people will take that and act out on those words in an extremely dangerous, dare I say, violent way. So to those who say censorship is never okay, I'm pretty positive this is cognitive dissonance. I am certain we could find examples you would be opposed to, especially opposed to private platforms like YouTube platforming those ideas. But if you somehow do genuinely hold that belief, I just don't believe the same as you. I believe you are wrong. To those who didn't like it but still appreciate this channel and are deciding to stick around, I appreciate it. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the fact that you think I'm wrong and I think you're wrong doesn't mean anything related to the rest of the conversations we are having here on this channel. This channel has been up for a year. There are dozens of videos I put out, nearly daily atheist content, and this is the first time I have felt necessary to do this. And I've already explained why. I will tell you that same level of caution will be the caution I exhibit going forward. And so you probably can expect it at the same rate. You know, of course, unless right now a surge of videos calling for death to all the homos, if those start popping up, then yeah, you're going to see it more. But at the very least, you know my reasoning, and you know my boundaries, and you know my lines. Thank you all so much for watching. I do want to hear in the comments whether or not you believe censorship is ever okay and what your boundaries would be. And let's say your boundaries on YouTube, just to keep everything clear. When do you think it is appropriate for YouTube to take down a channel? I'm very interested, honestly, to hear what other people think on this. Also, follow me on Twitter. A link to that can be found below. That's where I will be shooting out links where this video pops up more if that continues to happen, and you can help out by going and reporting and helping YouTube see and prioritize that YouTube see these videos are popping up again. Also, go to our subreddit, Dear Mr. Atheist, where you can actually tell us if you see these things pop up elsewhere, if you're looking for them and you're helping out. Go and shoot those links over there. Also, that is in general where you can suggest new topics. We end out today with my patrons here who are so amazing. They keep my channel going. They genuinely keep it alive. I wouldn't be here without them. A special thank you to my orbital teapots, Mia, Commander Bork, Maya, Caleb, Ariel, Ashley, Flathycat, Lucy, and Matthew. Welcome, Matthew. And hey, what about today's patron of the day, who is Kevin Conrad? With love, I've been Jimmy Snow. Mr. Atheist wasn't my father.